Okay, so let's quickly talk about shadows, because shadows is super easy. If you want to create more contrast or you want a certain element of your cover to stand out from the background, then you can use shadows. So we can see how this designer used shadow on the number 92, because if it's with red and yellow, it usually doesn't really stand out from the background. But as soon as you add a shadow, you add a black element behind the red and it makes it stand out. Now you can see out of the whole cover, only the number 92 has a shadow. Nothing else has a shadow. Now it's not just about having a shadow, it's the type of shadow that it has. So if we look at this shadow, you can see that it's a very sharp and dark shadow. Because look at the lines, it's not feathered, it's not smooth, it's just sharp, which means it's very close. It looks like it's close to the background. Let's look at another type of shadow. This is a less sharp shadow. Can you see how it's kind of blurry? Now this is a kid's book, but it still uses shadows to separate the foreground from the background. You can see the shadows on the scissors here. They also add shadows to the letters here. Very faint, but it's still there. It makes it stand out. But the best use of shadow is on this illustration here. Can you see this illustration here has a little bit of shadow here, and there's also a little bit of shadow here on the scissors. Now the only improvement I would make to this cover, which is not going to get you more sales or whatever, but I like to have all the shadows facing the same direction. This cover is not doing that, because look at this. This shadow is over here to the right, while this shadow is over here to the left. Now this doesn't match up, because usually if the sun is over here and it's projecting everything over here, then all the shadows are going to be to the left, kind of like this one. See, the sun is shining here, it's shining on the bee, which is why it's projecting a shadow on the left. So you can't really mix and match the shadows. All the shadows have to be in alignment with everything else. So if you're going to go for a shadow on the left, it has to be on the left, all the elements on the cover. Now you can see they even added little shadows here. Can you see the shadow here? They added a little shadow to the little squares. Now shadows can be super effective if you use them correctly. Now these shadows used on this cover are called outer shadows, because they have the element and then the shadow is outside of the element. But you can also have an inner shadow, and this is exactly what this designer did with this book title. So if I zoom in here, you can see the G, there's a shadow inside the G, not outside of it. This is an inner shadow. Now what does an inner shadow do? It also creates a good contrast with the background, and it can also help the letter stand out. That's exactly what it does with this book cover as well. And you see how just by adding that inner shadow, it gives it that depth. It makes it look like it's inside the cover, which is why the title is Good Inside, because it shows it's like a design thing. I don't have to explain it. But adding shadows is going to help your contrast, and it's going to help the letter stand out and your main image stands out. Now look at this. Look at this woman here. Can you see this orange woman here? She has a shadow as well. Can you see the shadow being projected here on the yellow thing? Here's a shadow right here being projected by her hand. That creates a sense of depth. That actually makes it look like this little woman cutout is outside of the cover. It gives it a more 3D look. So shadows are so effective. Play around with shadows, play around with inner shadows and outer shadows, play around with the sharpness of the shadow and the opacity of the shadow, and see what looks good, see what makes it stand out the most. And shadows are really going to help your book look a lot more professional.